Hi. How are you?
Doing pretty well. How are you?
You're all right?
I
Good.
am. It'd be helpful if I actually read my calendar where it says start recording pod, where it says end. So little
It's all
things.
good. It's all good. How have you been? Any fun updates?
Oh my God, I just spent 8 days on a solo retreat.
You did. Oh my God, tell me about it.
I was thinking in anticipation of meeting with you,
Yeah.
oh, I should probably try to remember some of the stuff that happened.
Yeah.
So much came through. You're looking stunning, by the way.
Thank you. I put my
Um,
makeup on. You do too. Like we're all like, are we videoing this? Oh my God, right. We're videoing this. I better like wash my hair. This will not continue to happen. Let's just say that. I'm just gonna set the expectation. This
yeah.
may be the best I look for the entire series. Let's just go there. Okay,
That
yeah.
was
So what
great.
happened?
Oh my goodness. Just so much different kinds of mediumship. One of my grandmothers came through to really support with the idea of re-changing your vibration related to your sacral area. How do you even do that? I don't even know how you
I
do
don't
that.
know either, but you should probably figure that out. Add that to your to-do list.
I am.
So Noelle, tell me about vaginal whispering or being a vagina whisperer. Like, why are we doing this?
That's a wonderful question.
Thank
I
you.
mean, part of, I think, why it came up was in conversations about mediumship,
Hmm.
the idea that we could communicate with vaginas just like we can communicate with other body parts. It's it's a mediumship thing because like some people talk to trees. I've had communication with kidneys and hearts and other body parts. And so like vagina was like
Parts.
on the list. I was just sitting with like I'm 56. I've been married for almost 20 years. I believe that I brought a lot of the energy of sexual trauma in with me to this life from my own experience, but also really from my, I don't want to say matrilineal lineage, but maybe. Anyway, all the women in the past who dealt with much more than I ever would or did in this life for sure to feel as like kind of impacted as I have felt. I just think when I look back on my life, I've always been kind of dysfunctional in this area. I had some things happen when I was young. I think that I also accepted, like a lot of people likely of my generation, that there was a certain aggressiveness that was like I don't want to say acceptable, but it was like expected and it happened in relation to men. And I don't know how many other people feel as kind of compartmentalized as I do, but I really do. And in some ways, it's unfair to be in a marriage and a partnership where something like sex and intimacy is an expectation. And I kind of gave up on mine years ago. I had breast cancer, I had chemotherapy, it threw me into menopause when I was 47. And things have really gone downhill in that way. I still have a lot of years left, and that level of like resignation about an area of life that potentially could be really pleasurable and really bonding. Like I stopped caring about and even thinking as like a possibility in some ways, and it's kind of tortured my husband. So I want to look at it like he is the reminder, like when I worked with teenagers and I was reminded of how much we could love music, but I kind of forgot when I got older. And I was like, oh my God, they're right. And I really re-engage with it that way. That's my hope for this area is that my husband is a reminder to, wow, this can be amazing and beautiful. And I also want to really reinvent myself in how I relate to sex and intimacy because I've always been very separated. Maybe just not somebody who equates like physical affection with love so much, unless it's pussycat. And then, of course, I do. So I feel
A
like there's,
physical pussy cat. You're saying an actual cat.
yeah,
Just want to
no,
make sure we were.
Yeah. No, there is no
clarity.
euphemism there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I could kiss her and rub her and
No expectations. Nothing's going in the vagina.
nothing's going in the vagina.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really am proud of you for being so honest right up front.
Mm.
Episode 1. Like, you are doing this because it's important. It's important. And we are both doing this because it's important. This is a part of our human existence. Sexuality, sensuality, love, orgasm, feeling voluptuous and beautiful, and all of that. It's so important. It is a humongous part of the world and the body that we're living in. And when you said like falling in love with music, teen, right? I like that because it is true. I want to fall in love with sex again. I want to fall, and I have a much different story than you, and we'll eventually share it in the long run. But when I sat down, I was actually showering this morning. Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
I realized, yeah. I don't need to tell you how long it had been since I showered. Maybe this is something that I should start doing to actually get more in touch with my vagina and my husband, is showering more so I smell a little better. Okay, all right. Wow, we can talk about that at some point. Okay, I digress. I I was showering and I thought, why am I doing this with you? That's our whole point of today's conversation is why did we start a podcast called Vagina Whispering? And I'm just tired of people not talking about it. That's really what it is. I'm just tired. I'm tired of people being ashamed to talk about it. I'm tired of not sharing these experiences because as a result of not sharing the experiences, we are limiting our connection to others. We're limiting the amount of growth that we can have. I'm limiting the amount of pleasure that I can have because if I don't talk to other people about orgasm, or if I don't talk to other people about my hormones going all jacked out wacky, or if we don't talk about all of these other things that are on our list. I mean, everything from homosexuality to bisexuality to tri to trans to, I mean, all of these things. And this isn't just going to be about sex, right? This is going to be about everything that we as women go through in our journey of life. And it doesn't mean that it just starts when you get into your 40s. Like, no, this is from, like you said, this happens in childhood. Things happen in childhood that affect how you approach your connection to your vagina and how you approach sexuality. And I'm tired of people not talking about it. That's just it. It's like, it's time. It's time for us to say, I have a relationship with my vagina. Because I got to tell you, I think there's quite a few men that have very strong relationships with their penises. Don't you agree?
Oh, completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why, like, I mean, and guys aren't like, many guys are totally not ashamed to say whatever. But if I were gonna say, oh, I gotta go, I'm gonna go masturbate real quick. Whew. Like, why can't that be normal? I mean, I remember the first time I asked my mom if she masturbated. I was like, "Do you masturbate?" And she's like, "Jennifer!" I was like, this should not be. Oh. And I was like, "Mom, are you still having sex at 75, 74?" She was just like, "Oh yeah, we are not talking about this." Let's see, that's the problem. That's the problem. Because we should be talking about it. So that's why I'm doing this.
Love that. And also like eliminating the shame. That's also what you're talking about too, is like enough being
Enough.
weird about it.
Yeah. And I'm proud of my story. Am I proud of my orgasm numbers? No. Am I proud of how hard it is for me to have certain types of orgasms? No. But what if we don't talk about it, or if we don't bring in sex therapists, or if we don't bring in people that are writing books, or if we aren't reading books about it, I'm never going to change. I mean, who said? I mean, isn't it Albert Einstein that said keep doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I mean, that's insanity. That's just insanity. Did Albert Einstein say that?
No idea, but somebody very wise said that.
Yes, very wise. I'll look that up.
So,
Yeah, but that's insanity. Is if I just keep doing the exact same thing and poof, expect my orgasms to just like change, they're not. If we don't, if we continue to sit in silence and expect to learn things from each other, we won't. It's insane. So there you go.
love that. And look, also you bringing up hormones and your body, our bodies change over time, and what our bodies need and how they function also change. It could also be a medical thing, like I'm on a pill that I'll be on for another 4 years that I thought really hindered me from having orgasms. I'm not really sure if that was really the problem. But also now I'm dealing with like atrophy. I recently saw a few specialists related to, because I was urinating was getting a little bit weird for me. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, what's going on? And now it actually is, it feels a little bit like a race against time, even though I still haven't been approved by my insurance company to get pelvic floor therapy. But that is, there are medical issues that taking better care of our bodies that can be avoided or at least minimized. But yeah, you have to adapt.
Well, and I mean, we've talked about this, how your cancer completely, and you mentioned it. I mean, it threw you into menopause and I mean, that'll be a huge conversation for us is talking with cancer survivors about how it impacted their sexuality. Let's talk about how getting a full mastectomy can completely rape someone of their femininity in their minds, right? Or losing hair and how that changes the way you want to be sexual. I mean, those are real things and we need to be talking about them. And yeah,
Yeah. And look, women supporting other women. I mean, there's nothing quite like that. I'm very grateful that in this life I was born a woman because I love relating to other women about issues that are truly important to us. And I know for the men that love us, it's just as important to them in a lot of ways.
yeah.
And I'll talk more about my husband and our relationship and conversations related to this. But yeah, and I'm I know there are plenty of women that have had a very rough time adapting to the body changes of a mastectomy and other things where they felt less sexual and their partner saw them as less appealing and sexual. So there's a whole thing about that. I feel like I've gotten pretty complacent about my weight and not like I'm so overweight, but I'm out of shape. My husband's in like the best shape of his life. He's been going to a personal trainer for like 4 years. He has very bad arthritis. So he's really trying to focus on longevity and mobility. But now I'm like, what's that one?
Well,
I can't eat that.
and that's something I am quite thin. I've got a very lucky, but I can tell you what, I put on 2 pounds. Okay, so I just got back from Switzerland with my husband and my daughter, and I call it the cheese belly. We always come home with the cheese belly. And this time I was very careful. Now, it didn't help that we were in Hawaii a month before that and I came home with a Mai Tai belly. These are things that you just have to really label. Like I had a Mai Tai belly when I came home from Hawaii. I had a cheese belly when I came home from Switzerland. I gain a couple of pounds, even 1 pound. I don't weigh myself. My desire to be sexual goes down into the shitter when I gain a smidge because I don't feel good. My husband thinks I'm beautiful and incredible and awesome. And he gives me so many accolades. Like it's almost sickening a little bit, like how much he loves my form. I'm not complaining, but it's me. It's me taking off my clothes. So I completely get it, Noelle. Like you're all, I don't want to be the one that doesn't feel good in her body. So guess who worked out this morning? Guess who worked out 2 days ago?
Nice.
This is about doing things that give us longevity, making decisions that give us sexual longevity, sensual longevity, being here, having great orgasms in our 70s. Like, that's my goal. I don't want to be that woman who, when asked by a 25-year-old, hey, do you still have sex in your marriage? I don't want to be the one that's like, no. And there are so many women that say, no, I don't have sex anymore. I haven't had sex with my husband in 5 years. I mean, I don't want to be that person. It's healthy. We all know, and we will get into the science of orgasm and what it does for your brain and all of that. We'll bring in specialists and talk about all that stuff because I want to know why I should have more orgasms. And I don't have to have an orgasm with my husband. I can have orgasm all sorts of different ways. But I mean, not with different people. If my husband's listening, he's like, Jen, we need to clarify that one. But yeah, so this is about feeling good in our bodies so that we can feel good with our partners, so we can feel good intimately with ourselves. So let's transition a little bit and then we'll be done because I think this first little conversation should be short-ish. Talk to me about how the woo-woo spiritual side of things is going to work with this podcast.
I'm so glad you asked because I was just thinking about that. So, and I'm still learning a lot. And part of doing this podcast now, rather than, well, let me really get some big traction going and then share about it, is that as my journey unfolds, I can share about that because there will be other people who will be in that same place that I'm at now. And so we're kind of walking down that path together, which I love, being healthier, feeling more whole, and feeling more like I mean, I feel like in some ways an incomplete wife for sure, if not a damaged woman. And I don't want to feel that way. So, and energy and mediumship is a huge part of my life, almost my whole life, except for, you know, other relationships. So I have tried to have conversations with my vagina. And there are times when I have felt, now I'm assuming it's her when I have felt it, like big amount of energy in that area of my body. And that's been like astounding because I often feel absolutely nothing. It's odd, unusual. Like I have almost no libido, certainly in the last few years. I don't actually probably since the chemo. Yeah. Okay. So it's been really
Since I
interesting.
was like 20. That's just I've had no libido for my entire life.
Wow.
Yeah, crazy. Okay, back to you.
I didn't know that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I have tried using mediumship as I do with other things to connect that way. And at first I was getting a lot of negative stuff. But then I heard from a friend who connected with my vagina for me, mediumship wise, that like I have these negative filters and I make a lot of assumptions that she's mad at me or something. And I'm like projecting. So, and I mean, there's a lot going on for me in this area that will unfold and dissect more in future episodes. But there are times when I feel, and she keeps doing this just as I'm about to fall asleep. And I'm like, why do you keep doing this now? But then, and so now I'm able to speak with her more
Hold
clearly.
on, what does she do right before you go to sleep? What does she do?
Well,
That big burst of energy?
no, not quite, but I'll feel a small, like I'll feel my vagina, like when your throat is sore and you actually feel it and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
there's something wrong. Like with my vagina, I think that's what libido used to feel like, was I would feel energy there, like kind of a bit of a longing maybe, but 99.8% of the time I feel nothing. So as I'm drifting off to sleep lately, I will feel energy there. Like it feels like just like if my grandmother visits, I feel energy somewhere. Sorry, grandma. Well, but she's helping me with this, so I'm not even like it's not like I'm throwing
It's
her
like
under the bus.
when my dead grandmother visits, it's the same. It's just the same.
Just in a different place.
When I feel my vagina, it's the same.
Anyway, but I feel energy there, like she's signaling to me, basically.
Right.
So I'm like, really now? And
Right.
she wants me to connect with her. And I ask her how. I think that I have had to rebuild trust with my body. And I use mediumship to do that. I'm sure lots of other people have their own ways. So it's been really interesting kind of being with that. And I don't, Grant and I haven't, we just don't really have sex.
Oh, well,
And
we're
part
going
of
to
it
get you
is
there.
yeah, and part of it is he's like waiting for me to heal so that I physically can, as well as I'm good in a good emotional place. But, and this is where the hypersensitivity of being with a very intuitive, very thoughtful partner helps and hurts, is that he's like, you can't do this for me. You're trying to like pressure yourself. I mean, I used to feel a lot of pressure to have sex because it was very annoying and frustrating to him to continually not. And we did very rarely. And he has a very high drive, like a very high drive. So it created a lot of conflict and a lot of
Yeah.
separation.
Yes.
And now he's like, basically his stand in all of this is don't try to appease me by forcing yourself to do something you're not comfortable with, by pushing yourself to heal something that isn't wholesome for you. Like he's figuring out ways to take care of himself. And this is my time to reconnect with my own self, my own body, my own pleasure, my own sex life, my own reasons, and to do it for me and not to try to fix something with him or placate.
Talk about, oof, I mean, that's a lot of love.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
That's a lot of love. And I hope you feel it.
I do.
Okay. So you connected to my vagina a couple of weeks ago, and I connected with yours. I just sent you the audio. By the way, I loved what my vagina had to say. She was great. I loved what your vagina had to say. I cannot wait to talk about that because people are like, you have got to effing be kidding me. These two women connected to each other's vagina energetically and then recorded their conversations with the other person's vagina. Yes, yes, that is. I'm just going to tell you right now, that is what we did. Hmm. And it was fascinating. Go ahead.
I just want to clarify because it could sound like you sent energy or dealt with the energy of my vagina, but the energy of things has consciousness. So we connected with the consciousness of the energy of our vaginas. And
Yeah, the
yes,
consciousness. That's true. Because I didn't just feel your energy of that area, I had a full conversation with her. Hmm. And by the way, just a little teaser, the her is actually a they. There's lots of energy in there. She's fine with us calling her her, but she's like, it's really a they. So yeah. Not they as in the form of they that we're now being trained to talk about in terms of pronouns. It's more of like the Abraham Hicks they, right? That there's this group of energetic beings that are your vagina. And then there's one voice that came through.
I freaking love that. I love the idea of connecting with collectives about things. And I just want to say for all of us, and I can feel emotional. I'm feeling it like come up for me as I'm about to say this. When we heal ourselves, we heal back generations and we heal forward generations and we
Yes.
contribute to the collective consciousness. So there's lots of good reasons aside from improving our own lives and our own, I don't know, well-being and that of our partner and the people that we're around will be more relaxed when we're more connected with our body and the flow of that energy. Having sex will bring in a certain kind of energy to our bodies and all of that. But it's also a contribution in so many different ways and facets. And there's just so much good that could come out of it. As I was getting different downloads about things, what I was reminded of was this, and that even if we don't help a whole lot of people, we are raising consciousness about things that will radiate. And so there's no downside to us doing this, talking about it, sharing and supporting each other, loving each other through the hard times, and learning to love ourselves more completely as one being. That's my goal, is to be like whole person, not like my
Yeah.
vagina is separate from me and she's mad at me and now I have to make it up to her. Even
She's
though I
not
can,
mad at you.
she's not. And I've apologized many times for taking her for granted and situations I put myself in and things I did to myself that really were so unthoughtful for my own body, not even like of her as a separate thing.
Right. We'll get
Yeah.
into all of that. That's
Yeah.
That's a big, big part of your journey. And we'll definitely get into
Yeah.
all those details. Thank you.
What else would you like to say about yourself and your journey? Because you didn't
Mm,
really share much about your history, and you may want to now, you may want to wait, but what else is there for you to say?
I don't, okay. I don't know. I have another podcast. So
You
this
can,
is something that I am exploring with you. I love this platform. My other podcast is about my incredible daughter and our spiritual journey. She has a disability, and that's when my world we took 108 I took a 180-degree turn, and I start not a 360, because if you take a 360 you're going the same direction. I took a 180. And that's when my spiritual journey and my education and my work began. Is I had to raise my vibration for her. I had to raise the vibration of us as a family. I had to She is a remarkable energetic being, and I had to, in order to parent her, connect more fully to the ohana that I have, my spirit ohana, my family of spirit beings that are surrounding me and are surrounding her. So I tell you all that because I'm very comfortable talking about things. I love talking about things. There's certain things that are going to be off limits, and I will get into that later just for familial things. But I'm I'm pretty much an open book. Pretty much. I like the uncomfortable. I like the uncomfortable. I've always gone like this to things, to people, situations. I like learning. I can't wait to get on this journey with you just so we can keep learning. That's probably the best reason to do a podcast, truthfully. It's all selfish. The reason I do the other podcast is because I just am selfish. I just get to ask all these people, these experts, what they think, and it's awesome. So that's what we're going to do. Yeah, and that's it. I've been married for a long time, 16 years. We were together 9 years before that. So
wow.
25 years we've been together. I was 22 when we met. So I guess it's 16 and a half because I'm 48 now. I live in California. That's it. How about you, Noelle?
Well, I've already given some info,
Yes.
57, married for almost 19
Yeah.
years, and also live in California, just the other end of it.
Yes.
And yeah, I'm excited to be on this journey with you and with everybody who's going to join us. And I want to see us. I'm getting this visual of all of us. Actually, interesting, like kind of crossing arms, but holding hands with each other. And there's just a huge line in both directions. So I
I
love
like
the
that.
idea of holding people's hands as we walk down a path together that can be scary, that can be mysterious, that can be kind of nerve-wracking. And I think there's a youthfulness to being willing to change and continually evolve. And in that respect, I want to feel timeless. Like you were saying, I don't want you to be the woman who at 70 is like, oh, we stopped doing that years ago. What are you talking about? You don't do that after 65.
Oh,
Yeah,
hell
no,
yes, you
screw
do.
that.
Yeah, screw that. Pun
Have fun.
intended. Pun intended. All right. I love it. This is just the beginning. We do have a Gmail account. It's called Vagina Whispering at gmail.com. The reason we chose the name will be our conversation next time, how we got to Vagina Whispering. So there's your little teaser. All right, everybody, have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for joining us, and let's all keep it real together.
Oh, I like that.